I want to take this opportunity to say welcome once again to this English lesson of Term 2 for P.6. We are looking at the topic occupations, and under occupations, we are looking at the subtopic carpentry. Still under carpentry, we are looking at tenses, and under tenses, we are looking at the passive voice. The passive voice of different tenses, especially tenses that have the word present in them. In other words, we are looking at the passive of present tenses. There are many tenses with the word present in them. So today, it's a summary of the work you have on page 35 and 36 of the workbook. Yes, be attentive and you learn how to change different sentences in the present simple, present continuous tense, then the present perfect tense, from active voice to passive voice. That's what we are looking at today. So first of all, we want to begin with the passive voice of the present simple. We sometimes call it the passive, and means the passive voice. Yes. So in the passive voice of the present simple or the present simple tense, we have a lot to look at, and it is summarized from what we see on the board. We are saying, first of all, the passive voice of the present simple is formed from that pattern as shown on the board. What's the pattern? I have to follow to construct my sentence in the passive voice in the present simple. The pattern should be the object followed by either is or are. I forgot something. You can also use am. Yes, you can use am as well. Object plus is or are or am plus the past participle form of the main verb given. I repeat, it is object plus is. If not is, you use am. If not are, you can use am plus a past participle verb. Let's look at the examples, and as we construct our answers, we are going to be following exactly those words we have used in the pattern. If you don't follow them, it is be sure to fail, because the answer is only correct if it has followed the formula given to you, or the pattern, structure pattern that has been given to you by the teacher. We have our examples. Number one is Nalumoso makes good furniture. Nalumoso makes good furniture. Change to passive voice. This one is already in active voice. Active voice. In the active voice, we begin with the subject. Here the subject or the doer in this sentence is Nalumoso. Nalumoso is the name of the subject in this sentence. And what does the subject do? Because we said the subject is the doer. What does the doer do in this sentence? He makes. He makes. And what does he make? He makes good chairs. Meaning, this is our subject. This is our verb. Good chairs, not simply chairs, is our object. So we mark it with the letter O. We say the object begins our sentence in the passive voice. So we begin our sentence with good chairs. Which helping verb are we using? Is, are, or am? We are meant to use, obviously, am, because it is a plural object. Good chairs are, past participle is next. After choosing one of these three helping verbs, you now talk about the past participle of the verb given, and that verb is makes. Change it to past participle, it becomes M-A-D-E. Then you can add the doer, and that is Nalumoso, after using preposition by. So in the end, you have your answer as good chairs are made by Nalumoso. That is the passive of the present simple tense. The passive of of the present simple. Next, Mr. Meme teaches us about carpentry. I'll repeat that. Be careful. Mr. Mirembe teaches us about carpentry. Our sentence 2 has 2 objects. This one had only one object, good chairs. Here we have a sentence that presents itself with 2 objects. One is called a direct object, the other one is called an indirect object. We have Mr. Mirembe. Okay, Mr. Mirembe is obviously the subject. Then teaches is obviously our verb. The action of teaching is done to us. The object that comes just after the verb is known as the direct object. So this is one of the objects. Then carpentry is another object. But this is an indirect object because it is far from the verb. The direct object is that object which comes immediately after the main verb in a sentence. So we have Mr. Mirembe teaches us about carpentry. If you want to fail, you will begin with the indirect object. If you want to pass, you will obviously begin with the direct object. So our direct object is us. Can us begin a sentence? Not in English. So we change it to the objective or the subjective form, which is we. And taught about carpentry. We are talking about carpentry by Mr. Mirembe. Full stop. Let's check and see whether we have followed the pattern. We have is or a or am after the object. If object we, direct object, plus am, which is already here, plus the past participle verb, which is taught, then other words follow. Lastly, we see the subject coming last in the passive voice. And that's all I can tell you about the passive voice of the present simple. Be careful about sentences that have direct and indirect objects. We've agreed to always start with the direct object. So when we have the activity about this, it's a mixed activity about all present tenses. Yes, that should be on page 36. That's where our activity is. Let's now take a look at the passive voice of the present continuous tense. The passive voice of the present continuous tense. You're given a sentence in the present continuous. How do you change it to passive voice? This is what you do. You're going to follow the pattern, which again excludes an important helping verb, and that is am. Am is used with pronoun I. If pronoun I is your object, then you're going to use am as the helping verb. For other subjects, other objects, you're going to use is or a as your helping verb. So we have the pattern as object plus is, all a, all am, plus be. This is now present continuous. Remember, any tense that has the word continuous in it has an ing in it. So that ing is also catered for in the passive voice. So we present being in the passive voice to cater for the ing form of the verb that was given to you. After being, what else? You add the past participle form of the main verb that was given to you. Okay. What are the examples of sentences in the passive voice? In the active voice, but in the present continuous. They are the ones we have used as our examples today. We have Adrian is polishing new chairs. This is active voice. Because of ing, we'll use being in our passive voice. So we see, Adrian is polishing new chairs. Begin new chairs. In most cases, those are the instructions we are given. New chairs. After the object, Choose a suitable helping verb. Is it or is? New chairs are many, therefore we say After what does the pattern tell me to add? It tells me to add be. Yes. Lastly, according to our pattern, the past participle after be. The past participle polishing, and that is polished. Then add the agent or the doer after preposition by Adrian. And it is as simple as that appears on the board. New chairs are being polished by Adrian. And this is your passive voice. This is your passive sentence in the present continuous tense. Next, we have another challenging question. Someone is throwing away the bench. Someone is throwing away the bench. Someone is our subject. Throwing is our verb. The bench is our object. Begin the bench and you say the bench. Because it is one we'll use is plus being because of this ing. Then the past participle of throwing, and that is thrown away by who? Full stop. The bench is being thrown away. Do we need to mention by someone? Never. Why? This is an unclear subject. Someone is an unclear subject. When I say someone, I'm not very sure of that very person. Therefore, unclear subjects are never needed in the passive voice. I repeat, unclear subjects like someone, no one, everybody, somebody are never needed in the passive voice. Even pronouns, don't say the lesson is being taught by him. Never. The lesson is being taught. Full stop. If I say, they call me Annette, I tell you to answer that, change that to passive voice. I am called Annette. Don't tell us I am called Annette by them. It's not correct because they is an unclear subject. This should be our last example of a passive voice sentence in the present continuous tense. We've seen the pattern. Make sure whichever answer you construct is following the pattern. Make sure before you start answering that question, you've got to understand the tense in which your question was set. Check the examples of sentences I've constructed in the passive, in the active voice, or my sentences by questions, the tenses under which they fall. Examples of sentences in the present perfect, present simple, present continuous. Look at them and compare. For example, I'm going to answer number 3. The porters are carrying away the furniture. The porters are carrying away the furniture. In which tense is this sentence? It is in the present continuous tense. So which pattern do I need to follow in my answer? I'll use this pattern which was given to me in the present continuous tense, passive voice. Lastly, I want to look at the passive voice of the present perfect tense. You have been given a sentence in the present perfect tense. How do you change that from active voice to passive voice? That's the stuff I want to discuss this morning, and I call it a day. We have the pattern for any sentence that is in the present perfect tense to be changed to passive voice correctly. You need to have the object first. All passive voice sentences begin with the object. Okay. After the object, either has or have been. I mean, either has been or have been. That's the way it was supposed to be. Okay. You can use has been or have been after one of these two. Then you add the past participle form of the verb that was given to you. We have another empty subject here, and that is somebody. The teacher has told you empty subjects like somebody or unclear subjects like somebody should never appear in the passive voice. Somebody has stolen my toolbox. Answer. My toolbox is the object. Either has been or have been, because it is only one toolbox we use, has been. Here, things are going to be very easy because the past participle verb you need is already used in the active voice. That is the fun you enjoy with the present perfect tense passive voice. They tell you to change the sentence to passive voice, and that sentence is in the present perfect. It means the past participle is already part of the passive voice. Okay, my toolbox has been stolen. Do we need to mention the doer? No, because the doer is an unclear subject. My toolbox has been stolen. Simple as that. Then the very last example I have for you under the passive voice of the present perfect is this. The young boy has vanished the stools. The young boy has vanished the stools. Begin, yes, with the object, and that is the stools. Change it to passive. After stools, either has been or have been. There are very many stools, so use HAVE, the plural helping verb. The stools have been vanished. I told you the beauty of the present perfect is the past participle verb you need here is already used in the active voice. Yes, the stools have been vanished by the young boy. What's this? The stools have been vanished by the young boy. And that's the answer. That's how I have managed to deal with my question in the present perfect passive voice. So we've reached here, and that should be the end of our lesson. It was all about the passive voice of the present tenses. So we have three tenses we have looked at. That is the present simple, the present perfect, and the present continuous. But each tense has got its pattern, so master the pattern and make sure the sentence you construct fits into that pattern. The pattern is like the formula you use in mathematics. Here, the formula to constructing my answer is this plus this plus this equals correct answer. Simple as that. Follow those patterns as given by the teacher and make sure you do that activity correctly as given on page 36 of your term 2 workbook. Beyond this, apart from saying goodbye, there's nothing more I can say to you. Enjoy your day. Thanks for watching and learning with us. Keep learning, keep watching these videos because they are the best option for you, especially this lockdown. This should be the end of my lesson. I want to wish you a nice day. Goodbye, we meet again.